Hello, my name is James. I am a 38-year-old physical therapist and yoga instructor. Before I begin my story, let me briefly explain that it will center on my journey through my wife's betrayal, revenge, and reclaiming my life. Everything seemed to be going in the right direction. I had my ideal career and a happy family. But just then, an incredible thing happened that completely changed my view of love and marriage. I found evidence of my wife's betrayal, and it was my best friend who started it. In the face of this sudden blow, I experienced pain and anger that cannot be described in words. I planned an unprecedented revenge, not only to make my wife feel the taste of betrayal, but also to make the former best friend pay the price. Let me start from the beginning and tell you how I fell from a happy married life into an abyss of misery, and how, through revenge and forgiveness, I finally regained hope and courage in life. In the second year of my yoga center's existence, a woman named Sarah came into my life and signed up for my yoga classes, and I have been her personal trainer ever since. She signed up for my yoga classes, and from then on, I became her personal trainer. Sarah has a delicate face and a slender figure, but her demeanor is a bit shy. In every class, I pay special attention to her movements and patiently correct her postures. Gradually, I found myself looking forward to every meeting with Sarah. Her smile melted my heart like the warmth of the sun, and I was mesmerized by the way she focused on her practice. Love sprang up, and during an outdoor practice at the yoga park, I found the courage to confess my feelings to Sarah. To my surprise, she felt the same way about me. At that moment, I felt incredibly happy, as if I had found the other half of my life that had been missing for a long time. Our relationship progressed rapidly. After only 1 year of dating, we decided to join hands and enter into marriage. On the day of the wedding, Sarah was dressed in a white wedding dress, as beautiful as an angel. Looking at her happy smile, I secretly vowed to spend my life to take care of this hard-won love. After entering into marriage, Sarah and I's life seems like a sweet dream. Every morning, we wake up hugging each other and say good morning to each other. At night, we walk hand in hand in the park, enjoying the peace and quiet of the world we live in. Sarah often prepares a lunchbox for me, which is full of my favorite dishes. We would share interesting stories about our work and discuss our future plans. At that time, I was convinced that this kind of happiness would last forever. However, as the newlywed passion gradually faded, I gradually realized that our married life was not as flawless as we had imagined. At first, these changes were minimal, but like the butterfly effect, they eventually turned into problems that could not be ignored. First of all, Sarah's consumerism has changed dramatically. I clearly remember that during the days of our relationship, she always dressed simply and casually, putting little thought into her clothing. But soon after we got married, she started buying expensive clothes and cosmetics more often. In the closet, brand new dresses, high heels, and designer bags became more and more numerous, almost to the point of countless. From what I've seen, Sarah's style of dressing has become more edgy and sexy. Once she favored clean-cut sportswear, but now she favors low-cut skirts and wants to show off her body all the time. As a yoga instructor, my income is quite good, but Sarah's expenses really make me feel overwhelmed. I've tried to communicate with her about this, politely reminding her to be frugal. But every time Sarah would ease my worries with a sweet smile and a deep kiss. "Honey, I'm doing this for you," she always said. "I want to be the perfect wife so that you can hold your head up in front of others." How could I say no to her smile? In addition to her lack of restraint with money, Sarah's demeanor has quietly changed. Once, she was a soft-spoken woman who always treated people with the right amount of courtesy. Now, profanity and vulgarity come out of her mouth from time to time. I remember one time when we were having a dinner with some friends. Sarah told a dirty joke in front of everyone. Although her friends laughed politely in return, I could feel the awkwardness that filled the table. In contrast, I can still see Sarah as she was when I first met her. She spoke softly, and even when she talked about interesting topics, she always had a good grasp of the situation. But now she seems to have left me. I can't help but wonder if marriage has changed her, or if she disguised herself when she fell in love. What disturbed me even more was that Sarah started to stay out at night more often. Whenever I asked, she would always excuse herself by saying she was working late or partying with her girlfriends. But I clearly remembered that the Sarah of the past seldom attended these social gatherings and would not sacrifice her time with me. Every time she came home at night, I would smell a strange perfume, mixed with a slight smell of cigarettes and alcohol. Although Sarah explained that she had gotten the scent from a party with friends at a bar, my intuition told me that it was not that simple. I don't want to think about the worst possibilities, but deep down, I have a vague feeling that our marriage is facing a crisis. According to research companies, the third year of marriage is a turning point in a couple's relationship. According to statistics, in this year, about 23% of married people have cheated. Although I do not want to, but the reality seems to be pushing me into this cruel vortex. I began to become suspicious and even secretly checked Sarah's cell phone, but did not find any clues. Several times I had the courage to try to open up to Sarah about our problems. However, every time I saw the innocent look in her eyes, I swallowed my words. I was afraid that the truth would shatter our hard-earned marriage and that all the good memories of our relationship would come to naught. But on the other hand, I couldn't lie to myself and pretend everything was normal. I knew that if we continued like this, suspicion and doubt would erode our relationship like a chronic poison. I spent countless nights tossing and turning, thinking of ways to resolve the impasse. I even began to wonder if I hadn't done enough to make Sarah so strange. Perhaps I need to work harder on my marriage, with more patience and love. Or maybe I should have the courage to face the core of the problem, even if the truth may break my heart. I know that no matter what the future holds, I must make a choice, because I can't continue to suffer like this day in and day out. How I hoped that all this was just my imagination, the result of my oversensitivity and paranoia. But my inner voice tells me that the truth is far more cruel than I imagined. In the face of this marriage is full of holes, what should I do? Only time can give me an answer. Faced with Sarah's unusual behavior and my growing doubts, I decided it was time to take action and find out what was going on. As a yoga instructor, I know that the worst thing you can do when facing a problem is to run away from it. The only way to find a solution is to face reality head-on. I began to methodically plan my investigation. First, I installed a GPS tracker on Sarah's car to keep track of her movements. I also placed miniature cameras at my home and at the yoga center in hidden places, hoping to catch some clues. In order not to arouse Sarah's suspicion, I lied that the cameras were for security purposes. In addition, I also used some connections to ask a private detective friend to help investigate Sarah's background. From him, I learned that Sarah had a failed marriage and that her ex-husband had filed for divorce because of her infidelity. This information definitely strengthened my determination to find out the truth. Gradually, through GPS tracking and video surveillance, I realized that Sarah was frequenting an upscale hotel, always while I was out teaching. Her stays at the hotel, which often lasted several hours, became more and more disturbing to me. I began to wonder if she was meeting someone there. In order to confirm my suspicions, I decided to investigate in person. One day, I lied about having a private coaching session, but in fact, I hid in a car outside the hotel and watched the hotel entrance through binoculars. About 2 hours later, I saw Sarah coming out of the hotel, smiling and holding a man's arm. At a glance, the man was my longtime friend Sam. At that moment, I felt thunderstruck and my whole body froze. I couldn't believe that the two people I trusted the most were cheating on me. Pain, anger, despair, all kinds of emotions are intertwined, left me almost breathless. I desperately told myself that maybe they were just talking about business, maybe it was all just a misunderstanding. But when I saw the image of Sam leaning in to kiss Sarah goodbye, I knew I couldn't lie to myself anymore. Despite my frustration, I realized that eyewitness testimony was not enough to bring this marriage to a close. I needed more solid evidence in order to get a favorable verdict in court. So I gritted my teeth, forced myself to calm down, and began to collect evidence in a targeted manner. I hired a private investigator to help me retrieve the records of Sarah and Sam's hotel stays, and I also videotaped them kissing outside the hotel. I even secretly checked Sarah's credit card bill and found that she had paid for their private date many times. All the evidence pointed to the same brutal truth. My wife was cheating on me with my best friend. The process of collecting this evidence was like a long torture for me. Every photo and every video was like a sharp knife. repeatedly cutting bloody marks on my heart. I asked myself more than once, why did I have to go through such torture? Why don't you just turn away and let this unfortunate marriage become the past? But I knew I couldn't let go so easily, not only for the sake of defending my dignity, but also for the sake of our marriage vows. I want Sarah to see what damage she has done to this family, and I want Sam to pay for betraying our friendship. Perhaps only after such a painful lesson can they truly realize their mistakes. For me, the only way to start over was to tear open this scar and look at the truth. Because I understand that a marriage built on lies and betrayal is not destined to last. Instead of continuing to sink into endless suspicion and pain, it is better to end this farce as soon as possible, to find a new life of their own. Although the road ahead is uncertain, but I believe that as long as the courage to take the first step, one day, I can get out of the haze and find happiness again. Now, what I want to do is to organize all the evidence, ready to tell the heartbreaking truth in court. The anger and sense of betrayal was at its peak when I had hard evidence of Sarah's infidelity in my hands. I felt as if I was imprisoned in a dark quagmire, and every struggle only made me sink deeper. I knew that if I didn't do something about it, the pain would torment me forever and make me depressed. After calming down, a thought of revenge began to brew in my mind. I wanted to make Sarah and Sam feel the pain of betrayal in the strongest way possible. I wanted to humiliate them in front of everyone and make them feel the pain I was feeling right now. To accomplish this, I began to orchestrate an elaborate revenge play. I set my sights on Sarah's birthday party in 2 weeks. I knew that Sarah had been looking forward to the party and had invited all her friends and family, even Sam, and it was the perfect time for the truth to come out. My first step was to organize the photos and videos of Sarah and Sam's affair into a complete love story. I also collected their chat logs and voice messages as evidence. To make the story even more dramatic, I even gave it a sensational title, The Price of Betrayal, The Forbidden Love of My Wife and Best Friend. I put all the evidentiary material on a USB flash drive and made several evidence envelopes to be played and distributed publicly at the party. Next, I started preparing the surprise for the day of the party. I ordered a huge birthday cake and asked the bakery to hide the flash drive containing the evidence of infidelity inside. My plan was to take out the flash drive in front of Sarah as she cut the cake and play the video in a special program to expose Sarah and Sam's cover. To make sure, I secretly set up a projector and sound system at the party venue and tested the compatibility of the equipment in advance. At the same time, I also prepared a few helpers who would be responsible for distributing the envelopes containing the evidence to each guest at the critical moment. If all went well, the truth on the flash drive would be exposed at the party, and the scandal of Sarah and Sam would spread throughout the city. The night before the party, I could hardly sleep. I felt a twisted sense of pleasure at the thought of the great humiliation Sarah and Sam would face tomorrow. They had hurt me, and now it was time to make them pay. This party would be the perfect stage for my revenge. On the day of the party, I came to the scene with a strange excitement. In the ballroom of the Holiday Inn, there was a lot of laughter and the party atmosphere was warm and cheerful. I saw Sarah and Sam laughing and joking like a real couple. I was almost fooled by their skillful acting, but when I thought of the flash drive hidden in the cake, I knew that it was all just a big lie. As the party progressed, the mood grew higher and higher. Guests were drinking, talking to each other, and soaking in the fun. Finally, at the climax of the party, Sarah started to cut the huge birthday cake amidst all the well wishes. When her knife touched the flash drive, Sarah showed her surprise. She carefully took out the flash drive and looked at me in confusion. I walked to Sarah, smiled, and said, "Honey, this is a special program I prepared for you. I believe everyone will be interested in it." With that, I took the flash drive, inserted it into the already prepared computer, and connected it to the projector. The next moment, the shocking video of Sarah and Sam's intimacy, their sweet conversations, and their explicit chats began to play on the screen for all to see. At the same time, my helpers began handing out envelopes containing evidence of infidelity among the guests. The scene fell into a deathly silence. The guests were staring at the masked couple with jaws agape, shock, and contempt written all over their faces. Some of them even started to whisper and talk, while Sarah and Sam were like two stone statues, standing on the spot, as if they were dead in the water. Sarah's mother was furious, rushed forward, slapped her daughter's face, hysterically shouting, "You shameless woman! How can you do this to James? You are simply a disgrace to our family." Sam's wife was sobbing uncontrollably, lost in thought, and sat down on the floor, apparently unable to accept the fact that her husband was cheating on her. I walked slowly to Sarah and said calmly, "My dear, this is what you get for betraying me. Now, everyone knows your true colors. I want to divorce you. I want you to completely disappear from my life." After saying that, I resolutely turned around and left the meeting place in a crowd of shock and accusations. At that moment, I felt the thrill of revenge wash over my body, as if 1,000 pounds had been lifted. But at the same time, a deep sense of emptiness began to spread. I suddenly realized that even if Sarah and Sam were punished, our marriage was irreparable. This revenge didn't give me any real relief, but made me even more confused. After this farce came to an end, I began to think about where I wanted to go in life. Maybe it was time to let go of the past and start over. But I know that this road is not destined to be smooth. I still need a long time to really get out of this haze, regain confidence and hope in life. Sarah and Sam's scandal quickly spreads throughout the city, and their reputations are devastated. And they are criticized and treated with disdain everywhere they go. Sarah eventually quits her job and moves out of the city. Sam, on the other hand, has to deal with his wife's lawsuits and his children's accusations, and his life goes from bad to worse. After the success of my revenge plan, I made her and Sam's infidelity completely public. I thought I'd be filled with joy at seeing them humiliated in front of the crowd, but that wasn't to be. As the party came to an end, an unprecedented emptiness began to eat away at me. I began to reflect on my behavior, questioning whether revenge could really bring relief. Yes, Sarah and Sam got what they deserved, but their pain didn't fill the wounds in my heart. Instead, I felt as if I had become a despicable human being because I had allowed revenge to cloud my conscience. In the following days, I tried to get rid of this negativity. I returned to yoga and physical therapy, hoping to heal my own soul by helping others. I worked harder, often being the first to arrive and the last to leave the studio. Slowly, I found solace in the smiles and gratitude of the students. Their stories made me realize that everyone is going through their own struggles in life, and that my experience might be a source of strength for them. I decided to give myself a fresh start in order to get out of the past once and for all. I moved out of my old house and rented an apartment on the other side of town. I started learning to cook, trying new recipes, and regaining a sense of joy in life that I hadn't had in a long time. On weekends, I would go hiking in the countryside and let the tranquility of nature heal my wounds. Gradually, I felt the colors of life return and the darkness in my heart began to lift. That's when I met Doris. It was a normal Wednesday evening, and I was teaching at the yoga studio as usual. After the class, a student came to me and said she wanted to have a private chat. She was Doris, a gentle but strong woman. We chatted for a long time in the cafe, and were surprised to find that we had similar experiences. It turned out that Doris had also suffered from her partner's betrayal and knew how it felt. That's how our friendship began. We often chatted after yoga classes and shared our experiences, and Doris gave me valuable advice on how to rebuild my self-confidence and courage after a traumatic experience. Once, she invited me to join a spiritual healing workshop she organized. There, I met many people who were suffering from the same trauma as me. Their stories touched me and made me realize that I was not alone. Over time, Doris and I grew closer. We began to explore the city together, tasting new foods and enjoying the beautiful scenery. I felt a sense of peace and fulfillment in her company that I had never felt before. I knew I was ready to start a new relationship. One romantic evening, I found the courage to confess my feelings to Doris. To my surprise, she felt the same way about me. At that moment, we embraced and the world seemed to stand still. I knew that this was a new beginning, a future full of hope and love. Looking back, I have a lot of feelings. This emotional storm, although I was in pain, but also let me learn how to love, how to forgive, how to grow in the face of adversity. Now that I have Doris' love and a new goal in life, I believe that no matter how tortuous the road ahead, I will have the courage to face it and conquer it. Because I understand that the true meaning of life does not lie in avoiding pain, but in embracing change, in constantly breaking through themselves to become a better person. And all of this, thanks to the woman who once broke my heart. It is she who made me finally find my true self. Dear friends, I have shared my story with you today in the hope that it will give some insight and encouragement to those who are going through or have gone through similar pain. I would like to say that betrayal and hurt can indeed make us feel so desperate that we may even question the meaning of life. But please believe that the power of time and self-healing is huge. As long as we are willing to face, to accept, to change, we will be able to get out of the darkness, regain a new life. In this process, revenge may bring momentary pleasure, but it does not really solve the problem. On the contrary, forgiveness and letting go are the keys to inner peace. Love, whether from others or from ourselves, is our strongest support and motivation. So if you are in pain, don't give up hope. Embrace change, believe in yourself, and one day, you will see the sunshine again. And I, James, will always be with you, because we are both brave, both fighters for life. Thank you all for listening, and bless every imperfect but true soul. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care.